Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there. Well, welcome back to the Get Out There, Get Known podcast. I am your host, Pam Perry, Dr. Pam Perry, and I am excited to introduce you to a person that I would say is very different from this show. He knows all things digital. He really is I'm not saying this in a bad way, but he is like a geek, okay? And he knows, I've said this in front of him, like, you know, all this stuff. So we kind of get together and geek out about all this kind of stuff in the digital marketing world because he's been doing it for a very long time. I'm talking about Gresham Harkless. So I'll give you the formal bio and then I'll bring him up so that we can have a conversation. You can kind of learn a little bit about why he does what he does in terms of digital marketing space and why it's important. One of his main properties is CEO Blog Nation, but he is cbnation.com. You can find that there also as well, powered by Blue 16 Media, which is a web design and SEO company. So for those who don't know about SEO, I talk about it often. It's about being Googleicious, okay? So we'll just talk about that, being search engine optimized. They are a B2B brand that helps to exist and help over 1 million business owners succeed by focusing on resources, visibility, and connection. His signature thing is visibility plus resources plus connections equals success. So really they're focusing on really just being the number one business resource for CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners. So when I tell you that his blog is just chock full of good information, go to ceoblognation.com and you will see what I'm talking about. It is amazing. It is one of those things that's really, really cool. So with that, I'm going to bring up Gresh. Hey!
Hey, Dr. Pam. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I just want people to know that you really do know yourself when it comes to SEO. So tell us about the why. Like, why did you want to do, because you do a podcast and you do the blogs and you're like your own media outlet. So not only were you building websites, but how did you get to the point where you want to become like a media outlet as well? Because a lot of the authors and speakers that we work with, they want to get media attention. They want to get seen. They want to get out there and get known. But you basically say, you know what, let's start with this property. Let's start with the technical part, not the technical, but the more digital part. So kind of give us a why about how that expanded, because I'm sure the Blue 16 media came first, then the other part. So explain the why of that and how people can really get on if they want to, be on your outlet.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely appreciate that opportunity. It brought a tear to my heart to hear you call me the geek as well, too, because that is something that I hold very, very dear. And I always enjoy, helping people to be Googleicious and geek out about all those things. But funny enough for me, I wish that I was smart enough to say that the Blue 16 was actually first before the CEO Blog Nation and all those things. It actually was backwards. And it kind of answers the question, like you asked me, is that what I was kind of unsure about is like what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I graduated during the economic crisis in 2009. So a lot of things were kind of topsy-turvy. I had gotten laid off from a job, was going to get laid off from another job. But one of the things that I always try to do is if I wasn't sure about things, I try to just go into things that I'm super passionate about, things that I love, learning about or doing. And for me, I like kind of creating content. Now it's called content creator and things like that. But I always love reading and writing. And at that time, they didn't have podcasts or podcasts weren't as prevalent as they are now. So it just kind of has manifested itself from there. But the seed, I guess, that was planted for me was when I was 10 years old. My dad was in the military. He went to an entirely different country. So I started what was then a family newspaper, and
Ah,
that family newspaper would have all the stories of what was going on in our family, all of those things that I kind of took some clip art and some Microsoft Word and made it into this, rinky dink little newspaper. And I would send it to my dad so he would know what was going on in the family. And then the entrepreneurial part was I sold the subscriptions to my family members. So,
get out of
um, yeah. So when I was, thinking about what I wanted to do when I grew up, it was kind of that story and a lot of stories like that that kind of resonated with me. It was really what laid the foundation to what I mean about being able to build a media business and build your media company and how important that is.
So really the main thing was just really to reach people in mass, with one particular piece of content, I guess you would say, because it wasn't a blog back then. I mean, obviously but you were blogging, you were putting together content, sharing it across platforms so that whether it was mail via, you said Microsoft, obviously you were emailing it, you were selling subscriptions. So you had to really figure out like how the best way to put all this together. And then how did you find out at a certain point in time that, okay, I am going to be my own business. I'm going to make money from this platform that, around 2009, 10, really, like, really, I say like the big boom of like 2015, people really start getting on the internet. It's like, ooh. And then since COVID, everybody's on the internet. So how did you learn SEO and developing websites and really, it's e-commerce too, in a way. So how did that come about?
Yeah, it really just came from me kind of leaning into things I was interested in. Like you said, I am a geek at heart. So my mom has an embroidery company. I built like a website for her, getting started. But I've always been, very, very into technology and how it works and things like that. So I started to build websites because my mom needed a website at that time. I started to do I started a nonprofit too while I was in college. I went to Howard University for my
Oh,
undergrad, and
you
and
know
yes, so I built a website there for one of my friends, and I started a nonprofit for men of called Men of Character to get kids into school. So I just started to really like lean into learning more and more and more, and I'm very much so a hands-on person. So even if there was a course, and as there are courses and information out there, I think it's so important to kind of couple that instruction with the ability to get your hands dirty. So like as you mentioned, the authors, the people that are trying to get their name out there, I think it's really, really great to have that opportunity to learn while doing as much as sharpening that saw by taking courses and learning things. And that's really how I learned along the way. And then I think the light bulb kind of went off for me is when I actually was introduced to a networking group. And when I officially started Blue 16 Media, I had no idea that it was of any value until I met other people that said, hey, you know how to do X, Y, and Z. And for me, like a lot of times our gifts and the things that we kind of naturally turn to, we sometimes can kind of minimize it and not see the value. So that's really what changed for me is I saw somebody else that saw value in it. And I was like, hey, I actually could do this, which is pretty awesome.
I know because you're in the DMV area, so you went to a networking group, and I want to say that the DMV area is really just it's high tech anyway. Outside of Silicon Valley, that's probably like the second or
Yeah.
third beside New York that really is very savvy in that whole thing. So when you're doing CEO Blog Nation, explain the business model of it because you have so many pieces of it, and I love it. So you have the podcasting didn't come till later. So tell us a little bit of how things rolled out in terms of that, and then how it reached out into the Blue 16 Media.
Yeah, so one of my big goals, like I mentioned, the CEO Blog Nation, I started, before I started the digital marketing. And what I started to do after I was like holding on to both, I was growing both of them. I kind of had a moment where I said, hey, I can't taste two rabbits at the same time. So I have to figure out either one or the other, or just have to figure out and be a lot more efficient with it.
Mm.
So my goal was really just to take a step back and say, okay, if I had maybe unlimited, revenue or growth, or money to spend, like what would I invest in to potentially grow my digital marketing business? And a lot of what I thought about, I realized that I was already building. without even sometimes knowing it. And I said, hey, if you want to try to connect with your target clients, if you're an author, if you've written a book to try to help people with X, Y, and Z, why not provide them value with X, Y, and Z? So as you said when you read my bio, CB Nation and CO Blog Nation and the podcast, the blog, the videos, all of that is all about providing value to the people that I want to connect with from a
That's
digital
it.
marketing standpoint. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't something that I knew. It's just me like leaning into my passions, and then things just started to align where I said, hey, I can use and leverage this to hopefully get some potential digital marketing clients and maybe other opportunities that are going to open up in the future as well too.
Yeah, and it's one of the things too. Authors and speakers need platforms. They need to get their message out there. So every day, just so that people know that he does do a daily blog, not daily blog, yeah, daily blog, I guess you would say, but
Yeah.
also a daily podcast
Yes.
every day. And so one of the things about SEO, just generally how I learn about it or know how it works, is that the more active you are on a platform, so if you have a website, the more active you are, the more you're going to have people attracted to it. And then the more RSS feeds, which stands for really simple syndication, that also gets the search engines love that as well. So they love multimedia, they love podcasts, they love video, and they also love you updating it often. They like backlinks coming in as well. So when you do a podcast and you have other people that are on the podcast, you're getting backlinks in from them and then also going out because they're sharing it as well. So I just kind of wanted you to like explain like the business model of that part about like why the blog, why the video, why, and obviously it's offering value, but also too, I've seen you involved in Haro, which is Help a Reporter Out, where you'll do what we call roundup articles. So explain to people about roundup articles because a lot of times people aren't even familiar what a roundup article is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say the name of the game is all about being found. Most of the time, we have really great products and services, have written phenomenal books, or phenomenal speakers, but getting that opportunity to really get your name out there is probably, if not the biggest part of what you need to do, as you do so well with PR. It's so important. It goes hand in hand with everything related to SEO. So my goal was really to build a more of a platform, and I even simplify it by saying kind of like a party where I don't necessarily sing, I'm not doing the dance, I'm not doing all those things. I just want to invite all the people as much as possible to the party so that hopefully everybody can get value and have a really good time. And of course, if they need a website or they need SEO, I would love to be that person that could help provide that. But I think that's really something that I tried to do with CO Blog Nation. And really, it started a lot of at its heart with me having that journalistic mindset that I've always had, where I always want to know why did people start their business? How do they come up with their business name?
Mhm.
If they had advice for somebody that was starting a business, like what would they say? And what I I use a tool called Haro, and I basically compiled the top answers from different people from different stage businesses, different size businesses, and I would have essentially a 30-question blog post that answered what are the best business advice, or what are your favorite hacks that you use in your business, or how important is it to be a entrepreneur in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area where I'm located. So it's really not so much me saying I think you should do X, Y, and Z because this is what I say. It's more like, hey, I've invited this person to the party, this person to the party. They have really great insight. They have really great advice, and we can kind of all learn collectively from them. So that's really been something that I've been, trying to grow and to do. And I feel like business model wide, it's all in. Like once you have that party, can you find people that potentially want to be at that party as well too? And that's where affiliate links, sponsor content, just all
Mhm.
these things start to come about because you've had a really good party that you can have a lot of people that also want to reach that target audience.
Yep, you were leveraging the audience, and the roundup article can have 3 people, it can have 10 people in it, and they're asking the same question. You can ask one question and get like, "What is your favorite hack?" or whatever, and then have maybe 30 people in that. But that's one of the things where Haro Help a Reporter Out, where they ask people who are journalists to, okay, if you need help, you need a source, you can go in there. But also, if you are a subject matter expert, you can subscribe. So it's for 2 people. It's for the journalists or those who want sources, and then also it's for the sources who are looking for outlets. So it's a good marriage of both, and it's a free service, and all. And basically you can use it and sign up. Now they do send you a lot of emails, so you got to keep up with your emails because they'll send them out like 2 or 3 times a day. But you can find someone, even if it's a journalism student, to kind of monitor that for you and say, hey, my niche is business, this is what I'm looking for, and they can reply for you in terms of really getting a pitch out there. So tell us a little bit about the what you have learned in terms of your business, in terms of really doing the website business. So say for instance, one of the first things, if I want to get someone PR, I said, we have to have your foundational right. We have to have your website right. So what have you found like been like the top 5 things that maybe 3 things, at least the top 3 things that people are getting wrong about when they're building their website?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And thank you for giving me that number because I can go on and on and on, as you know,
Right.
from some of our conversations. But I think the biggest thing that I see, especially on a local level, so if potentially, there's a business or there's a person that's trying to get a really strong local following, one of the biggest things that I see over and over again is people fail to have their location. And that's on the back end, more of the title tag and meta description. They don't talk about where they're located. They rarely will actually have, even if you don't want to have your address, if you have a home-based business, just have where the areas that you serve. This is one of the biggest things that I see. And I think what a lot of people don't realize, and something that, we all kind of learn in our zone of genius, is that people don't necessarily know everything that you know. So you want to be able to translate and spoon feed for people that information. So especially for search engines, there's something on the back end when you go to the site called a title tag. Basically what that is Google's way to understand what's to follow on a website. When you have your title tag set up within certain, restrict parameters, I should say, the amount of characters, it helps Google to know who you are, what it is that you do, but also where you're located. And I think that's one of the biggest things I see consistently that people forget to do. The other big thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was saying that's really good because sometimes maybe they'll put in looking for a Detroit publicist, Detroit
Right.
Black publicist, just Metro Detroit, whatever. And you can, well, for me, Speakers Magazine is targeted African American speakers, and that's one of the things. But you can also put in things like that to let people know exactly, who your target is. So that way, when people are Googling it, they'll actually find you because they're looking for you. So that's really, really good. Those title tags.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, brings up the great part that you talked about is like really understanding who you're targeting. And I think as you start to build your website, most people want to jump in, get their hands dirty, they want to create their website, put sliders, get their colors, logo, all those things in place. But really drilling down and knowing who you're targeting is so huge. As you mentioned, the Detroit, as it being a Detroit publicist or a Virginia-based web design company. All those things allow you to break from the noise and be found a lot easier. It's less competitive to be found as a web designer in Virginia than to be found as a web designer in the entire United States. So a lot of times we forget that those opportunities are really what we can do before we jump into the website to make sure that we are finding those niches, those opportunities that are going to, basically give us the revenue and money that we want for our business and our organizations.
And so really not getting the title tags. Number 2, one of the things I find that is what people, when they put together a website, is like you have to convert. So for you, when we go to CE Blog Nation, one of the things that they don't have is a good opt-in gift or a way to collect information from people. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I love that. And I was definitely going to say a CTA. One of the things I talk about, again, those offline conversations, I ask clients, what does success mean to you? Are you trying to sell more books? Do you want more PR? Do you want to sell a t-shirt? Or, what is success to you? And you want to, again, hold people's hands to let them know what that looks like. So like you mentioned on CB Nation, one of the things that we try to do is get as many emails and contact information so that we can always follow up with people. But on Blue 16 Media, the goal is really to set up consultations. So we want people to fill out a form, go to the scheduler and set up a time to speak. So it's really understanding what success means to you and realizing that these digital tools are really for you to kind of manipulate so that you can hopefully reach your goal. So you don't have to do it the same way everybody else does it. You have different opportunities, but it's huge. You want to be able to say, hey, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. I want you to sign up for my newsletter. I want you to follow me on social media. I want you to subscribe to the magazine, whatever that might be. You want to make it as clear as day, so that people can take that action as quickly as possible.
So when you started podcasting, what podcast are you at now? What number are you at, roughly around?
I'm over 1,300. I think I told you your number when I did yours, but
Yeah,
I'm over 1,300.
it's like, wow. So 1,300 episodes, guys, 1,300 episodes of a podcast. So what have you learned from podcasts? When you were starting podcasting, was it a way to monetize it at first? Or when did you start like really starting to monetize podcasting?
For me, one of the biggest things that I tried to do was, again, going back to Blue 16 Media and using it as a way from my zone of genius to network and connect with people.
Mhm.
I was really big believer that there would be opportunities down the line that probably would open up, but I wanted to make sure that I was able to build my digital marketing business kind of first and foremost. So that's what I kind of focused on. And then one of the reasons I made it daily is because I'm pretty active. Even pre-COVID, I'm always going to networking events and just meeting people. I really enjoy networking and getting to hear
And we
people's
met.
stories and what they do.
Yes,
Yes,
and we
exactly.
met in person. This was pre-COVID, but we were in the DMV area, and I
Yes.
was like, "Hey, I gotta get in touch with Gresh." So yes,
Yeah.
he is a networker for real, for real. And we had like a great dinner, and we were talking, and
Mhm.
those are some of the things that even though he is quote unquote a geek, he is very social. So it's not like someone who is just really familiar with all digital marketing that they sit in front of the computer. No, he is not that. He likes people. So he's a person where you can trust because he likes people. He can tell you the truth and tell you what works and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that people understood that because I tell a lot of my authors and speakers that says you've got to get this digital part right. If you don't get it right, find someone that can help you that you can trust, and then someone that looks like you. Not to put any shade of anyone who's going to do a website overseas, but it's just really good to deal with people in our part of the world, in our states. Someone that you can really, talk to and understand what you're doing and what your goals are. So that's why, and you can pick up the phone and call them and meet with you and talk eye to eye type of thing. So yeah, that's cool. But yeah, that's one of the things. And so networking is really important, online and offline. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the big things that I wanted to do with the podcast is really to build deeper relationships. One of my best referrals I actually got was from somebody who was featured on my blog originally. And actually I had on my podcast, and that relationship just deepened and deepened from there. I was on her podcast, she was on mine multiple times. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to do first and foremost is say, hey, can I take my gifts? Something I would do, I was already doing it, for free anyways, but maybe have it, part of my quote unquote funnel or part of my
Yeah.
process. But yeah, that was pretty much the primary, reason, and still, of course, working on things to kind of further create those streams of revenue
Mhm.
to support the business.
Yeah, because the more podcasts you have, oh yes, it says how do we connect? She says, how do we connect? So one of the ways to connect is ceoblognation.com. That's one of his main sites there. It's like his first place, I guess you would say. It is great stuff. The Good afternoon. Hey Candace, she says great topic. Exactly,
Thank you.
exactly. But one of the main things that I really like that you do is that you um, have so many podcasts. And so if anyone were, let's talk about your keywords. If they were looking for a business podcast, say for instance, you're definitely going to show up because you're talking to business people every day. So one of the things, without you really giving out your secrets, but what are some of the things that people who have found um, your website, CEO Blog Nation, or even Blue 16, what were they looking for when they found you? Were they looking for digital marketing? Were they looking for business podcasts? What were they looking for?
Yeah, funny enough that you said that because and I think one of the things that you talked about, and I want to just hammer home as well too, is I compare your pages, your posts, all the things that you have on your website to like sticky paper. The more pages, posts, generally speaking, content you have, the more sticky paper you have out there for people to find you. So I remember actually pre-pandemic, I actually did some live podcast recordings largely because I was found as media for an event that was going on. And they just searched for a podcaster, near me, podcaster in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. And they found my information based off of that. And I think a lot of that is, again, because if you have that sticky paper, if you really know who you're trying to serve, and you're able to really drill down as much as possible and see how you can provide value for them, think about all the different ways, it allows you to build your own media company in your own way so that people could potentially find you. But of course, people looking for digital marketing help, SEO in Alexandria, just, all those different ways that people could kind of search. But I think one of the beautiful things about SEO that I think a lot of people forget about is it's really all about psychology. And people don't talk a lot about this because the idea of Google is Google wants you to find what you're searching for as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
There's actual people that are typing in and searching for certain things, and Google's taking all that data and information and trying to return a result so that you find what you're looking for as quickly as possible. So I often say it on the show, on my podcast, is that we forget about the human aspect of business. We definitely forget about it related to technology. So when you're talking about SEO, don't forget that you're not just putting keywords in to try to rank higher. You're putting it in so that you can serve your clients, so that you can be there and provide a value to them when they're searching for something else. So don't forget about the people. That's the biggest thing. What you wrote that book for, who you're speaking to, make sure you're optimizing related to that.
Yes, it is. It's like a natural way where anyone's going to look. And my husband, he kind of does a little bit like he'll put in Google like the way he thinks Google would think. It's like, no, Google is trying to the way we would think. So like how to whatever. I mean, just type it out in a sentence. That's what we're looking for. And Google will find those pieces of property for us that best suit what we're looking for. Don't try to think like a computer. Think like a human.
Exactly.
That's the thing. So, one of the things, we're kind of wrapping up here, but I wanted to just say, Sharon wants to know, how do we contact you? I guess personally, she wants to contact you besides the Blog Nation. So what is the other website? And I can kind of put that up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. My personal hub for everything, you can go to iamgresh.com. That's IAMGRESH.com. That has links to Blue 16 Media, has links to CB Nation, the podcast, just all the different things that I'm working on. Sometimes that's the best place to kind of find everything and get a hold of me.
I love it. I love it. That is one of the cool things. So thank you so much for joining us. IamGresh.com. That's down there because we had the comments going and said, well, how do we contact you? How do we contact you? And I love what you're doing. And Sharon said, thanks. So she said, thank you as well. So I want people to know also too, there is a membership program that Gresh has as well. That's probably on IamGresh.com. Yes. So he has that part of his, collection of things as well. So it's a membership program if you want to learn all things digital. If you want to know about speaking and really getting PR, Ready, Set, Go, Speak is one of those areas as well. So want to make sure that people do that as well. So Gresh, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it. And just thank you so much for just joining us and being part of a Get Out There and Get Known, because you got to have the SEO. That's the main thing. All righty.
Yes, absolutely.
All righty. Thanks a lot and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Pam.
All right. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you